Hey everybody, welcome to the channel. I'm Dane, your host. I hope you're doing well wherever you may find yourselves. Today's video episode, if you will, is or has been prompted by my awareness that Judas Priest is putting out a 50th anniversary of Rock-a-Rolla, which comes out sometime, I think, mid-November. And we all know that if you're a Judas Priest fans, we all know that those first two albums on Gold Records left something to be desired because the production is not as up to snuff. But over the years, those two CDs, well, I originally had them on vinyl, whether on vinyl or in CD, hey Bowie, have seeped into my DNA, and so I'm debating on whether or not to get this. Will it be an improvement? How will that improvement be made? And I'm suspect with recent CDs, including Judas Priest's Invisible Shield. I think some of that was done with AI. I could be wrong. Halford's vocals have never sounded better in many regards, so I'm suspicious. I do love the album though, but overall I am pretty much anti-AI when it comes to dehumanizing or taking the human element out of things, and doing things for money instead of integrity and that kind of thing. But I don't want to focus on the integrity so much as just the overall here we go again, and I'll get to what I mean by that. So I also think that the most recent Rolling Stones effort has AI, and that brings into the question of artistic integrity as well. So again, I'm on the fence about whether or not, and will they about buying this new version of Rock-a-Rolla. There's a video or two out there about some people have heard it already, and they did a review of that kind of thing, and one person said it's quite good. So I'm thinking that if they're going to do a updated, if you will, version of Rock-a-Rolla, then they're going to do an updated version of Sad Wings of Destiny, and that's one of my favorite Judas Priest albums of all time. And I'm thinking, I'm so tempted to get these if they come out. Definitely one of them, tempted to get them if they come out. But we've heard us say before, right? This is where I draw the line in the sand, and I'm not going to go down the road of rebuying something over and over and over again. So the rocking horse of time, to quote Pearl Jam, or constantly doing the same thing over and over again. So today's video is to talk about, here we go again, a new marketing strategy by sellers, record companies, bands, executives, whatever label. Here we go again with being bombarded by another reason to buy the same album for the umpteenth time. So I brought a prop. Here is King Crimson. I mentioned this in a previous video, how many times I've bought this in different incarnations. So let's review quickly, or not so quickly. This isn't just about the different re-released versions, of an album or a CD, but let's talk about how originally that began with rebuying something because of the format. So initially you have reel-to-reel and vinyl. I've said this before, reel-to-reel to me is the superior form of listening to music, because again, excuse me, I remember being very young. Boston's first album came out, and I go to my cousin's house, who very influenced me with my love of music. He's got these huge speakers. He's got the reel-to-reel setup. I've never heard Boston's debut album sound better. And of course, the next day I go out and get it on vinyl. My mom buys me that, or she wins it off on the radio by being the ex-caller, right? That kind of thing. My mom did that all the time. And then vinyl. The reason why reel-to-reel, I think, in many ways is superior, I'm not the first person to say that, is because when you record something on tape and then transfer it to tape, you're not losing anything in transition, as opposed to transferring from tape to vinyl, or tape to CD, or tape to vinyl to CD, and that kind of thing. And I won't go down the road as why is reel-to-reel better than cassette. So if we start with reel-to-reel, and vinyl came first, then cassette, then 8-track, not necessarily in that order, thereabouts. 8-track goes the way of the dinosaur, cassette eventually. Cassette may be on its way back. See, again, let's suck people into the past kind of thing, which can be good or bad. So after the 8-track and vinyl and reel-to-reel, you get the CD, then you get the Blu-ray CD, then the resurgence of vinyl in the last 20 years or something like that, and it's overboard with the colored vinyl, the splattered vinyl, the tricolor vinyl. The Scorpions reissuing all their stuff on vinyl, and each album from their discography is a different color, right? That kind of thing. Then we get to MP3, and then you get into remastering, re-remastering, remixed, re-remixed, revisited. And I failed to mention that in my Whitesnake video, so let's talk about David Coverdale when he says revisited, remastered, remixed. What he means by revisited is altering, not just remixing things, but adding things in, having people come into the studio, like the Restless Heart CD, having a guitar player lay down some tracks and adding to what was already there, that kind of thing. Even possibly suggest some have suggested that there's some AI work done on the new Whitesnake box set for Into the Light and North Winds and Whitesnake. I'm not sure how true that is. I'm not sure what the difference between. Well, I talked about how there's software is used to unmix and then remix the tracks for that box set. But is software and AI necessarily the same thing? It could be. See, when you buy video games and someone says, "Oh, the AI, I don't like the AI for this game." Well, it's not a true AI; it's a program. So, if you're talking about Chat GPT or whatever it's called, and you say, "Hey, whatever, write me a Shakespeare play," and it writes it. Well, it's a program because you have everything. Like Wilson from Jeopardy. So it's not a true artificial intelligence, it's approaching a true artificial intelligence because it can only do what it's programmed to do. So in that sense, AI. So again, going from remastered to remixed to revisited. And so it seems that, so here's what I'm a little nonplussed, so I'm struggling with my words. But overall, what I'm trying to say is, I think there's a new wave of coming of money grabs, because, and I could be wrong, but I think there's going to be a new trend where people are going to start to rebuy the whole catalog, the whole discography, whether it's Uriah Heep, Judas Priest, Miles Davis, because now we're going to do an AI version, and I think things are getting out of hand. And this is what I've called before the fried butter syndrome, or producing something. When people say, well, it's in demand. Well, demand, does demand create production, or does production create demand? I'm not going to go down that road much again, but I've talked about this in a previous video. And the example that I used, well, here's a new example. In my classroom, I'm a teacher, if you're new to this channel, and for the most part, I've gotten rid of the hand sanitizer in my classroom. And now if students want to wash their hands, they can either go to the bathroom and use soap, or they can bring their own little pocket hand sanitizer. Because what I've found is, if the students know I have something, then they'll just use it to use it. They don't really need it. That often happens with Kleenex, but I got to keep Kleenex in the classroom. Same thing with Band-Aids. I have Band-Aids in my desk for the students, and they most of the time legitimately cut themselves, but sometimes a student will go to the office just to walk around, and I need a Band-Aid. So do you really need something just because it's out there? And I was talking to a friend the other day, and he was talking about, great friend, unfortunately I only see him once in a while, maybe, 6 or 7 times a year for whatever reason. He has kids and all that. He's a great guy. And he was saying how he bought some new Amorphous vinyl, and he only buys when it's a special occasion. And he bought some Amorphous vinyl because it was, special colored edition vinyl, like I think. And that there's an episode, it's the music that matters, right? Because you really need, this again in a splattered gray and yellow vinyl. Oh wait, we got a splattered red and black. Now we got a splattered gold and silver and it's never ending. And so recently I talked about how I'm finally finding editions that people are selling of the expanded deluxe editions of Uriah Heep, and so I'm guilty as well. And the reason I want these is because for me these expanded edition of Uriah Heep's catalog, whether you're talking about very heavy, very humble, through and including Abominog, that's their best run. Evil Conquest is kind of a dud, right? But the very heavy, very humble, through and including I think Sweet Freedom, or well, not Sweet Freedom, through and including The Magician's Birthday, are 2 CD versions. And then after that, you get 1 disc versions of Wonderworld, Return to Fantasy, High and Mighty, Conquest, and Abominog with bonus tracks. So that's another thing. Buying a CD for the second or third or fourth time, because it's not just original tracks. You have bonus tracks edition, then you have the bonus CD edition, then you have the expanded deluxe edition. For Uriah Heep, you had the original, then you had the original vinyl, then the original CD, then you had the 1997 edition with bonus tracks, then the 2004 with bonus tracks, and it's a little different. How many times has Sweet put out a version on vinyl or CD, and then you buy it, and then, well, this isn't the bonus versions that my friend has, because they keep changing, so that can be frustrating. Or you get an anniversary edition, a 25th anniversary, a 30th anniversary, a 40th, a 50th, it's never ending, right? And then, or you get the CD that is the original CD plus a bonus CD with a live set. Motorhead comes to mind, and these can be wonderful. I'm not saying don't buy these, but when is it going to end? It's not, because this is a marketing ploy to take your hard-earned money. I think, and I did a video on this, why it's important to be picky. So I want 3 more albums for my Uriah Heep collection. Return to Fantasy, expanded deluxe edition, same thing for High and Mighty, and same thing for Abominog. And then, as I said the other day, I can get rid of the box set that I bought that I don't need anymore, because it doesn't have the bonus tracks on it. And I bought the set because I wanted the back half of the Uriah Heep catalog, which I hadn't explored much. And for me, after further review, there's not much to like, except for a song here or 1 or 2 albums. And if I ever want to listen to them, because they're not that important to me, I have them on MP3, because I put them in iTunes, as I imported them into my iTunes. So I really think, I don't know, but I believe that we're going to see a new wave of strategies by marketing to attempt, and some of you will give in, and I'm sure I will as well, but at some point I have to be like Jean-Luc Picard, and this is the line in the sand, you will step no further, or whatever he says in that wonderful episode. So I'd love to hear what your comments in the comment section. What are your thoughts? Is this something you're looking forward to? Is this something that frustrates you as it does me? In addition, you can be torn as I am as well. It's frustrating, but at the same time, I am curious about this Judas Priest thing that's coming out. But yet, here we go again, folks. We go from all these different ways of purchasing the same thing over and over, and I kind of get when you move to a new format, because the new format is no longer available. I remember working at Musicland, and the cassette section, this is back in 97, 96, maybe 95. Anyway, no, it was later than that. It was 97, 98. And I remember watching the cassette section get smaller and smaller over a short period of time, at some point that we just got rid of. I hated alphabetizing cassettes, especially cassette singles, and I was jumping up and down literally the day we stopped selling cassettes, because of the alphabetizing of that, and it's just so problematic. And getting the keys to open them up, because they were in the big plastic things that you slid in, that was a chore to re-alphabetize at the end of the night. CDs was a little easier than that. But cassettes have partially made a return. You can buy the resurgence of cassette boom boxes that have CD players and cassette tape players in them, has made a return. And of course, vinyl has resurged in the last 20 years, as I said, and it is definitely a marketing ploy. And I like vinyl, but the point is that it's now more expensive than they were when CDs originally came out. CDs were more expensive than vinyl, and vinyl was dirt cheap. But now it's the other way around, again, because it's about demand. And when something's in demand, because the demand has been created, that fried butter thing, or the hand sanitizer metaphor, if you will, they can jack the prices up. Now, I will say this: if tomorrow they release Led Zeppelin 2, the hot mix for everybody, and it's not just, it's a new version. In other words, it's readily available instead of trying to I would literally right now transfer money from my savings into my checking account to buy a turntable system just to have that one vinyl record, because I've heard it, but I don't own it. Put it out on CD, that would be even great. But I do think we kind of have a problem on our hands. And I know the easy solution is, well, don't participate. But it's easier said than done. But I do think this is another money grab attempt. If it is at all really going to happen, that remains to be seen. But I do think we may be on the cusp, or on the verge, or on the cliff of being sucked into buying something like this for the 30th time. Of course, that's a bit of an exaggeration, but you get my point. If you're so inclined, please consider hitting the like and subscribe button. And if you're also so inclined, please consider subscribing to the channel. Take care now.